You see it right behind me. I would like to believe, and I bet a lot of you would also, new studies are emerging about UFO discoveries that were allegedly hidden for decades. Now, new documentaries and books are revealing even more information about potential UFO or UAP cover-ups. Joining us now to dive into the phenomena, we have Kent Heckenlively. He is the author of the upcoming book, Catastrophic Disclosure, The Deep State, Aliens, and the Truth. Kent, thanks for joining us this morning. You and I were talking before we got on air together and mentioned you've written a lot of books, but this is new material for you. So I have to ask you, what prompted you, an attorney, an educator, to dive into the paranormal?
Well, what really got me into this story was about 2 years ago in June of 2023. A whistleblower appeared in front of Congress named David Grush, and he was joined by two other whistleblowers, Ryan Graves and David Fravor. And since I'd written about Congress before, I knew that in order to appear in front of Congress, you have to be vetted pretty thoroughly. So while I couldn't say that what they were saying was true, the fact is they were legitimate people with unimpeachable credentials, and they were telling a wild story. And so that really piqued my interest. And I was fortunate enough to have contact with a well-known UFO documentary filmmaker, Michael Mazzola. And so I called him up and started talking to him about it. And I said, look, I've always kind of had a recreational interest in UFOs. I've never seen anything, never been abducted, no missing time, nothing weird in my life. But I'm fascinated by this. And so when people started talking about it in Congress, and when they also started saying things like, I can't answer that here in an open hearing.
Okay.
I thought to myself, and we heard all about the intelligence agencies being involved in this. I just asked myself the question, why do the spooks get to decide what we know about aliens? And I thought, well, I am an innocent in this area, but with Michael Mazzola, a well-known documentary filmmaker, probably the most accomplished UFO documentary filmmaker working today, I thought, okay, I can do a deep dive in this. And I usually take 3 to 4 months to write a book. I've published 19 or 20 books in the past 10 years, depending on how you count it. And this one took me 2 years because I really wanted to get it right. I really wanted to do a deep dive. I wanted to talk to the leading figures, people like Dr. Stephen Greer, people like Danny Sheehan, people like the journalist Michael Schellenberger, Congressman Eric Burleson, to find out what all these people thought. And I'm really pleased that the early editorial reviews have said that Michael and I wrote this book with energy and intelligence. And another editorial review said that we make some spectacular claims, but the great thing is that we've got extensive documentation. We tell the stories honestly, and then we invite the readers to make their own decision.
All right,
and I think that's as good as you can get in an area like this.
All right, let's touch on a couple of specific things. First of all, you bring up the Roswell incident back in 1947. You try and point out that the timing that we've been led to believe might not be correct.
Yeah, well, I'm very much supportive of the Roswell narrative, but I'd always ask the question when UFO people said, oh, gee, the first atomic explosion in July of 1945 sent out a signal to the aliens to come and investigate it. And I'm like, okay, I got that. That's July of 1945. Why does it take till July of 1947 for these guys to show up? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me if they're so advanced, which led me to an interesting book by Jacques Vallée, who's one of the leading UFO people, and Paula Harris, called The Trinity Crash. And so what that alleges is that basically a month after the first atomic explosion, a UFO crashed near the nuclear test site where it was discovered by two young boys on horseback. And when I read that account, I thought, that's what makes sense to me. If our nuclear explosions are causing alarm throughout the galaxy, I'd expect people to show up pretty quickly.
A little sooner, I got you.
And that's what the story tells. And it's also kind of funny because when I looked at Roswell, I thought, and I read the accounts and everything, I kind of felt to myself like, the military's got a plan here. And that doesn't make sense to me if it's the first time it happens. You
All
know,
right.
I'm kind of a Scott Adams sort of guy in terms of, corporate behavior and organizational behavior. And, when something new happens, nobody knows what to do.
All right, Kent,
Well,
let me
yeah,
interject here. Let me
yeah,
interrupt you here because I want to cover on another
yeah.
topic here. Let's talk about the alleged alien Peruvian mummies. Of course, Peru, famous for the plains of Nazca, the lines there. Do you think that that is really compelling evidence of alien visitors?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So, my co-author Michael Mazzola is doing a documentary called "This Is Not a Hoax" about these approximately 40 to 60 bodies that they have discovered in Peru. And what's been really interesting is, and our book has the CAT scans, the X-rays of these creatures, and a lot of work still needs to be done on it. But what's really interesting is from the forensic experts I talked to, they're really clear that these are actual beings. They show wear and tear on the joints. What's really
Okay.
interesting is they're three-toed, three-fingered beings. They have done some initial genetic testing on them. It seems to be about 70% human DNA, but
Okay.
not from Peru, from Southeast Asia.
And how
What
would they have
else
gotten
they
there?
have
Yeah.
in it is they've got
Yeah.
chimpanzee DNA, and then they've got about a certain amount which is undefined, which is
All right.
unknown.
Ken,
So
let
it
me
seems
wrap
to be
this up.
something of a hybrid creature, and more investigation needs to be done.
Ken, I want to ask you one final question. Simple yes or no. You're a skeptic, but do you believe aliens are with us right now or not? Yes or no?
I'm an 85-15%. So I'm 85% I believe.
Okay.
15%, if you told me the intelligence agencies were lying about this stuff, I'd go, okay, I get it.
All right. Kent, good luck with the upcoming book coming out here. This is Kent Heckenlively. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts on UFOs, UAPs, USOs, all the stuff out there. The truth is out there. We hope to get it sometime there. All right.